The modern piano is a very popular instrument invented in the 1700s. Over the past 300 years, there have been countless pieces written for the piano. But after all of this time, the question of the hardest piece still remains. I've noticed few, if no people have talked about this on YouTube, and for a very good reason. The definitive hardest piano piece is very subjective, and many viewpoints exist. Now, take the big piano channel Rousseau for example. They have made a top 10 hardest piano pieces video, but even they end up admitting in the comments that this format seems to be what is being recommended by the algorithm, and although recognizable, the pieces in this compilation aren't actually the most difficult. However, I'm just here to have my own take on the hardest piano piece. But first, we need to figure out what a piano piece is. First, I think we should begin with the obvious stuff. The piano piece cannot involve any other instruments like a violin, and it has to be playable with 2 hands, 10 fingers, and a standard 88-key piano. It also has to be physically possible, meaning that for all the Rush E believers out there, I don't see how someone is gonna pull this one off. Without getting their feet involved. Finally, I decided the work chosen cannot be an opus or in theme and variation style. However, multi-part pieces and sonatas are exempt from this rule. Just a fair warning though, I'm not saying that the piece I choose at the end of the video is the hardest piece given the criteria I've mentioned. I'm almost guaranteed to be disagreed with. And if you think another is the hardest, then let me know in the comments. I think to start off our journey finding the hardest piano piece, it'd be pretty reasonable to begin with the Chopin Etudes, specifically Opus 10 and 25. I'll start with Opus 25 number 11, better known as Winter Wind. Even if you don't play piano, I think this piece is still quite self-explanatory in terms of how hard it is, but believe it or not, this will be the easiest piece in this video. The rapid right-hand passages that peak almost 14 notes per second, combined with the fact that it gets no breaks for almost 4 minutes, this piece is definitely extremely difficult, but it's nothing compared to what's yet to come. So let's take a look at Opus 10 number 2, better known as Chromatic. On the surface, this piece seems much less scary than Winter Wind, because it just sounds like a bunch of chords with some chromatic scales. However, if you dive deeper, you'll notice that the chromatic scale actually must be played by your middle, ring, and pinky fingers, which are your 3 weakest fingers. Additionally, if you try to use your other fingers to play the chromatic scale, don't worry. Your thumb and index finger are already busy playing more chords, and so is your left hand. You can even test this finger independent yourself, even if you don't play piano. Simply try moving your ring finger all by itself without any help, and you'll notice that your middle finger and pinky will try to move along with it. Now you see why this piece is so hard. Lastly, ending off the Chopin Etudes, we have Opus 25 number 6, better known as Double Thirds. This piece also has very high demand for finger independence, even though your entire right hand is available to you this time. This is because the entire piece is thirds, or 2 notes stacked on top of each other. See these sections? It's not much slower than the scales in the previous piece, and it's technically a trill, Usually, people trill by rotating their wrist, but that doesn't help very much when trilling a third. Moving on from Chopin's works, we have Etudes by Franz Liszt. He has written many etudes, but we will mainly focus on the 12th of them, specifically the Transcendental Etudes. If this name isn't intimidating enough already, let's take a closer look at 2 of them, starting with number 4, better known. To put it briefly, this piece is quite terrifying. The amount of stamina and control needed for some sections, such as the octave runs and jumps spanning 3 staffs. On top of that, this is the longest piece so far in the video, clocking in at an average of 7.5 minutes. Even the peaceful sounding middle section is very difficult. Because the right hand is constantly playing modified arpeggios at a very fast speed. Let's continue on to number 5, better known as Feu Follet. Again, this is nothing short of terrifying. Finger independence returns this time in the form of chords at almost impossible speed. And most of the piece is also very jumpy and lively, so playing one of the hardest piano etudes while still remaining calm and focused is definitely not a light task. After these hellish passages at the start, the left hand is still hopping all over the keyboard, and the right hand is one finger durability test. That's enough of etudes for one day. But not enough Liszt yet, obviously. The next piece is also by Liszt, but first, from this point forward, the pieces have gotten so ridiculously long that a single part will not be enough to represent the whole piece. So I'll simply play clips as I explain. Let's move on and take a look. Hungarian Rhapsody, number 2. Hungarian Rhapsody number 2 has a very iconic opening, and it's just one of those moments where you just hear it everywhere, but you just don't know what it's called. I'll play a small clip so you can figure out what I'm talking about. Just like the opening, the rest of the piece is also very iconic. And because it's written by Liszt, it's guaranteed to become very difficult, and this is true for Hungarian Rhapsody number 2. In fact, this piece has 2 versions, one being the original, and one being the extended and more difficult version by M.A. Hamlin. And because it's the more difficult version, I'm talking about it. Everything leading up to the Hamlin cadenza is more or less straightforward. We begin with Leçon right after the iconic intro. Leçon starts with the right hand playing a melody and the left hand playing the same rhythm over and over again before we hit a mini cadenza. Afterwards, this melody continues with the right hand getting some gimmicks once in a while, such as trills or grace notes. It also has a repetition of the intro, which not long after has another mini cadenza. Next, the second part of the piece is called Fresca. It has a much more mysterious tone, and Liszt has you play the C-sharp 5 key almost 200 times in less than 30 seconds. But still, that's what you can expect from Liszt. The piece then evolves into a more vibrant tone, but the right hand just cannot catch a break. Finally, the third and last part of the piece is called the Hamelin cadenza. It all begins with the modified version at the beginning, which quickly transforms into yet another cadenza. The piece then shrinks down to only one staff, which contains two closely layered voices, one for each hand. Remember the happy melody we heard in Fresca? Well, the Hamelin cadenza uses it in the most obscure ways, including multiple octave span sections, as well as glissandos, and even including the rare double gliss as seen here. The piece finally finishes off with yet another furious octave section and a glorious ending. That was incredible. If you're still here to find your attention span, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. There's just so many more Liszt pieces I could talk about on and on, but I think for the sake of the video, 3 is well enough. However, I have some bad news for you. Most performances of the next piece last around 40 minutes, almost 3 times the length of Hungarian Rhapsody No. 6. It's not as content heavy though, so I'll just talk about the more insane parts. The next piece is Hammerklavier by Beethoven. The first note has your left hand spring a foot and a half up the keyboard just to land a chord perfectly. Additionally, the tempo is almost twice what the previous pieces had, and in fact, one version had the piece allegedly written as fast as possible, but an accelerando written not soon after, meaning to increase in speed. Because of this insane demand for speed, many performances, even those considered the best, cannot reach this written speed and must play at a slower tempo. Don't worry though, over half the piece is pretty slow, but the most infamous part is still the last section known as the fugue. It has extremely complex rhythms, double notes, trills, and again at a very fast speed. With the entire piece having a hefty 400 measures excluding repeats, the amount of mental and physical endurance needed is unreal. Like, have fun playing a slow section for 20 minutes. Not very easy, by the way, and just knowing the hardest part is yet to come. There's just not much more I can say about this piece. Let's move on. Gaspard de Nuit. Some say it's the hardest piece, and I wouldn't blame them. Wait. The video's count is almost over, so this has to be what I think is the hardest piece, right? Well, you see, while making the video, I noticed that it would be a bit longer than I expected. In other words, part 2 coming soon, hopefully. Anyhow, back to Gaspard de Nuit. This piece combines all the qualities of the previous pieces and amplifies it. The finger independence of the Chopin Etudes, the endurance of the Transcendentals, the virtuosity of Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, and the length of Hammerklavier. Even though the piece is only about half as long as Hammerklavier, it has so much more to talk about, and I'll summarize some of it. To Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, Gaspard de Nuit is yet another multi-part piece. Each of the 3 parts that compose it have very unique lore, and I would recommend you go look into it yourself, or just listen to the piece. Starting off with Undine, which is a story that describes a water nymph that is immortal, but has no soul. By itself, this section is already comparable to one of the Transcendental Etudes, and its 6.5 minutes of non-stop scales, arpeggios, chords with very uneven patterning, and some polyrhythms can already make a piece by itself. Nevertheless, it is a very beautiful section. Next, we have Le Guibet, the second part of the piece. This part describes the desolate scene of a hanged man against the silhouette of a setting sun. At first glance, it seems very simple compared to Undine. You may be able to guess by now that that is not true. The voicing and balance required is absolutely insane, and even though your fingers aren't necessarily falling off anymore, your brain might be. The part is mostly in 3 staffs, and the bottom one has a repetitive and tolling low note, which occasionally switches between B flat, C, and other notes. Nevertheless, this is played for dozens of times and symbolizes the tolling of a city bell far, far away. There is no way to cover up any mistake or inaccuracy in this part because of how slow and important it is, and this part goes on for over 7 minutes. Last but not least, we have Scarbo, feared by even experienced pianists. It describes a mischievous goblin that likes to appear, disappear, mess around, and torment the person. It is also known to hide under your bed and scare you in the middle of the night. But back to the piece. First, let's address the repeated notes, reminiscent of that of Rushy. Your hands need to play the same note over and over again at a ridiculous speed, so very good technique is definitely required. Next, your hands are vaulting across the keyboard at top speed, and sudden outbursts going from pin drop quiet to thunderously loud in a fraction of a second demands for control, and the amount of perseverance required is otherworldly. All of this for over 10 minutes, combined with the other 2 parts? Yeah, not very easy, is it? Now to end off the video regarding all the pieces I've talked about, especially the longer ones at the end, the description is not the most detailed. If you want a good and deep understanding about the pieces and how they sound, I recommend you go listen to the entire thing by yourself. I'll link all of them in the description. But even Gaspard de la Nuit is still quite far from what I think is the hardest piece. I just don't have that much else to say. Thank you so much for watching.